Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Soap Scoop. First up, we catch up with Coronation Street serial killer Todd Boyce, who plays Stephen Reid, and then it's back to me and Chloe for chat.
Hi Todd, welcome to the Inside Soap podcast, Soap Scoop. How are you doing today?
Good to see you. Thank you. Nice to see you. Yeah, I'm good. I just did a little workout in my garage, so I've got a protein shake, and I've probably got a mouthful of raspberries. Just realized, because I didn't realize it was time for us to have our meeting. But anyway, here I am. If I smile and there's black gaps between my teeth, that's what it is.
We'll know why.
Yeah.
So Todd, you are about to be in a brand new play, Possum Trot. Can you tell us about this new play?
Yeah, it's set in a diner in Nebraska. I'm in a really small town. There are 5 characters. There's Maxine, there's her daughter, her son-in-law, her granddaughter, and there's me. And I've been sweet on Maxine. Maxine runs the diner since I was 16. And my best friend sort of pipped me at the post, and they got married and had their life. And I ended up getting married and had a nice marriage and had my life. And I'm a widower and she's a widow now, gone sort of 4 years. So I'm hanging around the diner a lot, and I'm still just very sweet on Maxine. It sort of deals with the effects of, climate change on farming, large corporations buying up farmland, which is happening, a lot of young people leaving sort of farm communities, and just a lot of changes going on. So my situation is I'm 65. I'm actually 65 in about 3 weeks' time. Hard to believe. So I'm playing this chap who's had not a bad career, successful business, and he's ready to kind of embrace the rest of his life. He's got a line where he says, "The road behind me is a lot longer than the road in front of me." And so I'm kind of making my moves now before it gets really too late. That's the situation.
Oh, well, he sounds like a much lovelier character than Stephen. Is it a nice change to not be playing the villain this time?
It is. I think I loved playing the villain. I think who doesn't? I mean, it's such a gift, and it was such a gift. But it's nice not to be murdering people. You know what I mean? So that takes away the stress of that sort of department. I do remember when Ian McLeod first told me, Corrie's producer first got me on a Zoom call 3 months before I started last time. And he said, "I've got to tell you, due diligence." He said, "You're going to murder someone." And I just think the blood must have drained from my face. I thought, oh, wow, that's so heavy. And then he said, "After that, you're going to have to murder someone else because..." So then I quickly realized I was the villain, which was brilliant. It was just such a gift. After being with the show for sort of starting in 1995, all that time, almost 30 years later, to cap it off with the villain was genius. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and obviously you're in my house at the moment. Are you feeling nervous about slipping on stage again, or not?
I did Panto straight after sort of the end of Christmas of 23, almost straight after I finished Corrie, towards the end of 23, and then this is my 3rd production after that. So I'm kind of really like a well-oiled machine, I've got to say. And I'm not. I think at this point in rehearsals, maybe for the previous 2 plays, I would have been a bit, it's about a few things and on edge, but it's kind of the last thing on my mind. And it's so well written that the lines come easily. It's very easy to learn, which is always a good sign, isn't it? That it's well written. And so that's a help. We were doing the play I did previously was set 1802. It was Jane Austen terrain, and the writing was quite difficult. It wasn't the way we speak, so it was a little bit more difficult to learn. And the play before that was Sleuth, which was like learning the phone book. I mean, it's one of the largest parts in the English-speaking language for men. So this is just, we all do the same amount of lifting in this 5-hander, and it's not a lot of action in it. I sit on a kind of diner stool for the first 10 pages, so I don't have to move around a lot. So yeah, it's quite a gentle piece. Yeah, I'm not really too anxious about it at all.
And obviously, on stage you get the live reaction from the audience, and is that a gift as well, to have this kind of immediate feedback?
It really is, and we discovered in the last play we did, which is which is sort of a drama with comedy. You do this funny thing with an audience where you have your first couple of audiences and you get a laugh on a line and you think, ooh, I like that feeling. And then you start to try to get the laugh and then it disappears because you're not really being truthful. You're just trying to go for the laugh. And then you learn to go back to the actual, just be that person in that situation, say it honestly, and the laugh comes back. So it's a fascinating kind of science to it all. And yes, but it is, and you learn so much with instant audience feedback, don't you? So, but yeah, it is great to have that immediate response.
I wonder whether you're still recognised on the street as Stephen.
I am wonderfully, yeah. I mean, yeah, not as much as I was when I was doing all the killing, but yeah, there is quite a bit of I think because he was on so much, and I think Gogglebox and all, there was so much exposure around him, and he was always on the sort of news feed on my phone. I couldn't get away from myself. It was quite impactful, I think, and I think villains kind of do have this enduring kind of impact, which is nice actually. So it's nice that it's resulted in kind of work actually being offered to me instead of really having to audition for these plays I've been doing, which is, I'm so grateful to Corrie for that. It just lifted my profile, and people say, well, we know he can, act. Let's see if if he's interested in this part in this play, which I'm really, really grateful for.
And you talked about the kind of stress of being a villain and being a killer and knowing you had more kills to come. Were there points where you thought, he's going to get caught? He's bound to get caught?
There it was. I think what was so tantalizing, I mean, do you remember that he had it was Leo's dad in the sort of box on top of the car. And I think the comedy was that there were such near misses, and that, there was Abby and Kevin and Tim helping me lift a box with a body in it. So I think the nearer the sort of being caught came, the further away I knew I would be caught, because it was always comedic, wasn't it?
Did you have a favourite kill out of all of them?
I think it was the stuff with Rufus when I drowned him in his rental's indoor swimming pool. That was great. I mean, they were all good. The whole punch was great fun too. And the whole punch was fantastic. The art department, I'm in my study, and there was a big picture. The art department had a kind of great picture of me painted, and then it says Stephen Reid, Canadian Psycho, and I'm carrying the whole punch, and then everything finds around the sort of border of the picture, and it's framed. It's really lovely. But yeah, so the whole punch was great fun as well.
And we know you had that cushion made out of Stephen's very famous brown jacket.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that you got to take as a memento from the set?
What did I take? Oh, there's a credit card, which was quite useless because Stephen was broke. He didn't have any money. But the art department was so brilliant, so much so that, I'd moved from Milan in Italy, my character, didn't he? So there was this Italian bank credit card with my name on it. And I things like that. There are a few things around that I did keep from that. I get a kick out of seeing that. I took some coasters from the Rovers that are kind of stuck to the fridge with magnets, That instantly reminds you of being in the Rovers' return and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you knew you were going to obviously be a killer from the moment that you had that meeting?
Yeah.
Were you kind of curious? Did you go upstairs a lot and kind of go, what's next for Stephen? Or were you quite happy to be surprised by it?
I was quite happy to be surprised. It's funny you ask. Ian McLeod, our wonderful producer, was so available, and he said to me, phone me or email anytime. So I didn't hound him because I know he's a busy man, but whenever I wanted to talk about things, he was available, which was so wonderful. But I didn't want to know too much about what was happening next, which is interesting. And I'm such a stickler on Corrie. I mean, I've done films and telly for 45 years or so, and often you'll be in your hotel room and you'll be learning the scene for the next day, and you'll kind of do a version where you've rewritten quite a bit of it, and often producers and directors say, yeah, that's great. And I knew Corrie was not like that at all from being there in 90, starting years and years ago. So I was determined to actually say the lines as written for me. And I think the writers appreciated that. And it was a nice challenge for me because I thought there's Jonathan Harvey and David Kirsch. These writers are brilliant, and I thought, I'm going to honor this writing. And then they sort of learned my rhythms, and they started writing for me, and it was a beautiful, kind of setup. And so I was just happy to, my cubby was always full. I mean, the maximum you can do in a block is 12 episodes, and mine was like, honestly, I'm so fortunate. It was like 12, 12, 11, 10, 12, 12, 12. It just went. So they were throwing all this stuff at me. They knew I could learn lines and remember lines, so they just kept writing great stuff for me, and I was just happy to kind of just take it as it came.
Well, we were writing about Stephen every week, and obviously you got our best villain award as well.
Listen, it's right there. I love that award so much. I always got such a kick out of sort of pushing my trolley around the supermarket, and then I'd come to the kind of newsstand and think, oh, I'm on the cover of Inside Soap. It was just such a kick. Of course, I'd buy 3 copies to send him, one for my mum, one for someone else, and one to keep. But I do love my Inside Soap award. I really cherish it. Yeah, it's right here. Yeah.
And obviously, Stephen did meet his fate. Did you ever think maybe that he could have had a different ending, go on the run, or go to prison, or something like that? Or were you happy that his time ended in that way?
I think I might have mentioned I know Ian McLeod toyed for a little while with me being with Jenny and everything calming down because I was contracted for a year and a half. That was what we thought how long it would take. And then they toyed with another 6 months, just with the idea that I would move in with Jenny, hang around the Rovers, work at the factory, come back at night, and we would have this proper kind of love story where everything's kind of forgotten for a while. And then it would be even more tragic when I went. But I think the audience was just baying for blood at that point. They couldn't. I didn't even dare look at Twitter. I was like, get this man off my screen, or someone find him out. And I think they'd had enough. So we said, yeah, let's call it at a year and a half, which was good. Yeah.
It's a fine balance, isn't it? But I think that I did think people enjoyed that dynamic between Jenny and Stephen.
Yeah, I love Sal's work. I always have, and I never can't wait for tonight's episode. I never miss Corrie, and I've watched it for years. And I was watching it. I joined in '95 and went to air in 1996, and then 10 years later I came back, call out of the blue. And then I sort of thought, well, that's it. And 17 years later, I was watching the show the whole time, because I just love watching the show. And then to be asked to go back and to be asked to do what I was asked to do is stunning. But I've always loved Sal. I love Jenny and love Sal's acting. And we work pretty similarly. So we just got on like a house on fire. So I knew there would be some kind of love interest because Ian had sort of alluded to that, was kind of doing the maths, and I thought, I think it might be Sal, and then it ended up being her. It was just genius, it was so great.
Well, lovely. Is there anyone else that you keep in contact with from your time there?
I get messages now and then from Ali King, who's just a divine human being. And then we're always chiming in on keeping in touch. Johnny Dutine, we're always Sally Carmen just saying hi on Instagram, and someone will get a job and they'll say, "Oh, congratulations!" So they're still very kind. When I pick up a new job, they'll chime in and say, "Good on you, mate." So because you follow people's careers after they leave the show and you want to know what they're up to. So yeah,
of course.
But
now, sorry.
Social media keeps us all in touch, doesn't it? Which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. There was one burning question I had to ask, and I thought Stephen, before he met his fate, could have had one last kill. Who would you have liked to kill?
So, because I'm so averse to killing anyone, it's just so and it was tantalizing that they had me. Tim was in the boot for that amount of time, and I had a mate he's really savvy. He always knows the plot of everything that, if you go to the cinema with him, he'll say, "Oh, that's the killer." But he fell for the Tim thing. I said, well, I'm surprised because a lot of people really didn't. But I think if I had to kill someone, it might have been Lisa George's character, just because I love her acting. I loved her character, and she's quite comedic, and killing her would have been sadly funny, which is a terrible thing because I know how she would have acted frightened. I know how she played that. I have a sense of how she would have played that. It would have been so brutal because she's such a sweetheart. To kill her character in the factory would have been terrible. At one point there was talk of, there was a rumor about Elaine being killed, which would have been so brutal because I was so Stephen was so unkind to her anyway, you know. So
She was the one that had many near misses.
she did, didn't she? Yeah. Her days seemed to be numbered, didn't they? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Todd, it's been so lovely to chat to you. Please tell us how we can get tickets to see this play.
Possum Trot. It's at the Tabard Theatre in Chiswick in London. Get your tickets. Just go look at Tabard online, Possum Trot. And it's from the 12th to the 29th of November. So come and see it if you can.
Absolutely. Well, Todd, thank you so much. It's been
Thank you.
to you.
Chloe, I love how during that chat with Todd, you were so bloodthirsty. Like, you just kept pushing him for who would you have killed? Who would you like to have been his next victim? Like, you weren't going to let him off the hook for any of that. And he actually delivered on some of the answers.
I was quite impressed. He even gave me like who his favourite kill was. But if you've got a serial killer on the line, what else do you want to know, really?
On the subject of soap villains, it feels like we're in the middle of a villain maelstrom at the moment. They're all at it in all of the soaps. So let's continue with Corrie, because we've just finished watching all the backstory between Becky and Costello. Who is the bigger villain is certainly the question on the lips of everyone in the Inside Soap office.
Yeah, Becky thinks she's in charge. Costello is like vying for power, but we did see Becky obviously looking at photos of Costello's daughter. So is there going to be some more power play there of, you know, if you do this, I'm going to threaten your daughter. But obviously Betsy's in the firing line as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think the question on everyone's lips is, what is Lisa doing at the moment? I mean, I understand it's not an everyday occurrence, your wife coming back from the dead. She's going to have her mind elsewhere. She's going to be kept in the past. But she's being so oblivious to what's going on. I mean, Becky running in doing her amdram of, oh, someone's after me and I need to stay here in your house, just after she's told her, like, I'm with Carla, you need to leave, that's the end. I mean, come on, Lisa, wake up.
I know, I agree. I feel the same as you. I suppose we were also discussing as a team that there's that emotional pull with Betsy wanting her mum around and Lisa kind of feeling a sense of duty to do right by her daughter. But equally, if Becky's going to carry on being a nuisance, just get shot.
Yeah, and I know, obviously, this is the whole point of Becky being here, her whole number one mission. And she said to Costello, I don't care whether it takes 3 years or 5 years, I'm going to get my family back. But I really do feel for Carla at this point. And I just think, like, how far is Becky going to go? And I said to you that I'm a little bit concerned, and this is purely on speculation, that we've seen a set now for Becky's bedroom. And I always feel like when we see a new set, they're not always used for just like a flash in the pan scene. They're there maybe for a reason. He could have been in an alleyway having that phone conversation. And I don't want to put the frighteners on anyone, but I'm just thinking, is Becky going to go as far as maybe splitting Lisa and Carla up? Is she going to be like, oh, you know, I need some comfort, I need someone to look after me, and drag Lisa back to her hotel room? I don't know, but I'm feeling like Becky's not going to stop until she gets what she wants.
Yeah, I mean, the only condolence I can offer on that score is that they just needed a set to put Becky in, because she couldn't always be barging into their house. Like, she needed a location, didn't she? She needed tethering. So maybe that's why they've given her a bedroom. I mean, yeah, it does lend the question, is this going to be the scene of her seducing Lisa? I mean, certainly the headline in Inside Soap is going to be Becky beds Lisa if that happens, but I don't know if they're going to go that far. I don't know if they've got the nerve.
Yeah, that's some brave storytellers to do that. And I mean, I almost feel like it doesn't need it, although I feel like, are we building to that? Again, I don't want to put the fear into anyone, but I just feel Lisa is very firm on, she doesn't want her. She pushed away from the kiss, but I am sensing a little bit of, like, you get the odd look over the shoulder, you get the odd kind of far away look in Lisa's eyes, where I'm thinking, I believe Lisa's 100% committed to Carla, but I don't trust Becky at all. Like, I feel like she is just going to go as far as she can get away with. And I'd love to see Carla just completely not have it. But the problem is, the further Carla pushes, is Lisa going to pull back? So could there be a split? And as I say, this is all speculation, but I'm kind of thinking, like, where are the climaxes in this story? Because I know there was some fear that maybe it's dragging a little bit, but I feel like this week with Costello and Becky last week kind of coming together and discussing their kind of, you know, their evil backstories is a sign that things are going to step up pretty soon.
I don't think Lisa will cheat on Carla properly. If Carla has enough of the situation and just calls it quits, then that does leave the door wide open for Becky. We've loved coming up with all the different theories. Last week, we've thrown poor Ryan to the wolves, and the poor man's not even been on the scene 5 minutes before.
He has come back with an amazing tan from Ireland, I'll have you know.
It was an amazing tan. It's better than the spray tan that I get on a weekly basis now. I did wonder whether that was the result of Ryan and Mikey North, because they've been in Canada recently, the two of them, haven't they? I wondered whether that was a real tan or whether Ryan Prescott's just hopped in the spray tan tent for storyline purposes. I'd like to move on to Emmerdale, because we talk about Emmerdale all day long in the office. Everybody will have just watched Bear's special episode where we found out what happened in the 100 days of Bear being missing. What did you think of it?
Yeah, it was interesting. It was kind of, I got like Oliver Twist vibes a little bit. And I know people have said that about Ray already. He's a little bit of an Artful Dodger character. Maybe it's the London accent. Maybe it's never trust a Southerner, you know. But I thought, I mean, there were bits of it that was so dark, like the horrific moment where Bear is there suffering with his poor arm, and he just, you know, it's dinner time, and instead of giving him his dinner, Ray pours the beans over his jacket, and it's just really awful after making Bear think that he could confide in him, and it was really grim viewing. But what was so interesting is that this is meters away from where Paddy and Moira are. They're waving to them like they're friends, their neighbours, their colleagues. And that's the most horrific thing about it, is that all this time, this awful operation is happening right under their nose.
I can't believe that this time last week on the podcast, you were outing me for fancying Ray, and then he's just tipped beans over Beowulf. Like, how do I feel now? Like, I should have just kept.
I mean,
Ray.
That episode really was awful in terms of, like, I can't justify my Ray love anymore. I don't think you can either. But he's still a great character. So is Celia. I mean, they're so watchable. And we were having a little debate in the office earlier, like, who do we find more enjoyable to watch? The villains or the poor innocent people like April? And I hate to say it, but, well, it was divided, wasn't it? But, I mean, I'm certainly of the side of, I definitely find watching Ray and Celia more interesting just because they're so awful. But I can't stop because I just want to know what they're going to do next.
Yeah, interestingly, it was our junior writer, Louisa, who was on the side of April and kind of fighting the good fight for innocence and vulnerable young people. And it was us old timers that were saying how much we loved the villains and showing our age and being really unsympathetic about the whole thing. So I think that says more about us than it says about Emmerdale's storyline, or indeed the opinions of really together young people like Louisa. Another thing we were talking about Kev, because this has also become a controversial subject of debate in the office. Now, tell you all a little story. We were saying how much actually he strangely had grown on us. Obviously, he's a real hard nut and he's a psychopath. He's terrifying, but also he, you know, flounces around with a feather duster and bakes lemon meringue or whatever it is, lemon drizzle.
Lemon drizzle.
Don't get my lemon cakes mixed up.
Can't beat a lemon drizzle.
Can't beat a lemon drizzle. So we said to Chloe, like, oh, do you fancy writing an opinion piece for us along the lines of, yeah, we like Emmerdale Kev, even though he's a bit nuts. And Chloe kind of just ignored us and wrote a piece that was basically so biased towards Rob Ron, because obviously she's a great big Rob Ron fan, and kind of came down hard on Kev. And we got the piece through and we're like, Chloe, this is not what we asked you to write. Explain yourself, Tims.
So my defense, okay, I feel like Kev is a bit of a question mark. And this was my argument in the article, because only a few days ago we discovered Kev isn't actually dying and he's made the whole thing up. He is ill, but he's not dying. And he's twisting how unwell he is to manipulate Robert and keep him close. Things like that. And so I was like, you're putting me in a position to write this article about how much we love Kev. I don't know how evil he's going to get. What if people start turning on me and going, you've just said this is a great, lovely, cuddly guy, and now he's gone and, you know, I don't know, robbed David's shop and put Pollard under threat with a gun or something. In fact, talking of guns, he has a gun. This is a storyline which we're covering in the magazine this week. So I think, yes, he's a villain, and yes, he bakes cakes. How much can we trust him? I don't know. Where is he going to go? How dark is he going to get? He's doing a bit of karaoke next week. He loves a bit of Daniel Bedingfield. Do we trust people who like Daniel Bedingfield? That's my question.
let's put a poll on social media and see what kind of response we get back. Yeah, I do think your views are fueled by your love for Rob.
I will admit there is a bias. I'm not gonna lie, but I didn't want to plant my flag in the we love Kev. He's so funny. He's so. I know Emmerdale are definitely fighting the fight for he's really funny and entertaining, and I agree. Like there's a slight kind of kookiness about him. Someone described him, I think, as like a Springer Spaniel or a Labrador or something the other day, and I can see it, but I don't know how that's going to tip. Is that going to tip into like he is so unhinged that we're going to have some sort of like, because, you know, at this point we know that Aaron and Robert are back together secretly. When Kev finds out, what mayhem is going to explode? Because I think he could go full nuts. I'm expecting guns, explosions. I'm expecting the full works.
Can I just say that I saw that lie about dying coming a mile away? I think I wrote something in the magazine along the lines of, bet you p he is lying about dying. And I was right. And the round at the pub's on me, except I only bet 50.
Do you know, I'm the perfect soap viewer because I did not see it coming. I'm so naive. I never seen these twists coming. So I was completely convinced, especially when he had a heart attack. I was like, well, of course he's not making it up now. I mean, I don't blame him because obviously when he came back and when he came to the village, Robert hadn't been in touch for months. So you kind of think from his perspective, he's thinking, well, I've got to make up something to keep him because he's not being very like attentive.
Now, I want to move on to EastEnders. Now, we talked about these big villains. You know, we've got someone that's come back from the dead. We've got this psychopath. We've got someone who's human trafficking and drug dealing. But surely the biggest villain of all in soap right now is the cruise company that is rinsing Linda Carter of all her money. Because who goes on a cruise for like 72 weeks? I mean, they do exist actually. Brenda in Emmerdale, Marlene Kratz, God rest her soul. But yeah, I mean, it's absolutely criminal. It's daylight robbery, and we want our Linda back.
And how is she affording this? I know she sold the pub, but like I don't know that she got that much money from it. Like, what? How is she funding this? Johnny came back quite quick. I know people love a cruise, but are you not going to get bored after a while with the buffet and kind of all those days at sea? I think I'd get really bored as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd have jumped overboard by now. That amount of time on a boat, like dealing with seasickness and whatnot.
You just know that when Linda gets back, a certain ex of hers is going to arrive, and there's going to be a lot of friction, I reckon, between the two of those two.
Yeah, I just want to know where Linda's going to be based. Like, obviously, she's not going to be in the pub. Like, is she actually going to have like a pretty pink flat somewhere on the square, or she just going to go and live with Sharon? And Max stuff is going to happen. Is there a love interest? Can she ever have a love interest again? Because her Mick was always the one for her. There is really no one else for Linda. They came close to it with Alfie, which kind of felt mildly believable, but they've committed to Alfie and Kat again. So, or Phil, there was obviously questions of Phil when they were getting closer, but I don't want to see them together. I like the fact that they're friends and that they've got this, you know, these shared problems and that they're there for each other. So yeah, I want to know what's next for Linda. Tell us now, EastEnders, or forever hold your peace. Well, I think that's it from me and Chloe this week. If you have any theories, if you'd like to join the conversation, we want to hear from you. Comment on the YouTube, like, subscribe, or email us at podcast@insidesoap.co.uk. And we will be back next week with another interview and chat from us. Goodbye.
Or